That's me there screaming all right at the beginning. My friend Sean Hoffman and I did that song together. We're back. It's Jedbanger's Ball. Today on the episode, we are talking about music supervision, music licensing, all the ins and outs of that, selling your music to films, commercials, TV, radio, video games. We have our special guests. We have two special guests today. We have Tiffany Anders, who's a music supervisor, and my good old friend Lacey Swain, who is a music licenser for Sub Pop Records out of Seattle. She lives here now in LA and is doing that. And we kind of moderated the discussion between the two because they're on both sides of it. One person who's sort of trying to pitch the music for licensing, and the other person who's looking for music that they can license to whatever, industry they're working on at that time. So hopefully it's informative. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions about it out there. I know I did. I know I didn't understand it. I've been on both sides of it. So we talked about it, and hopefully it explains a little bit. We have Lacey and Tiffany here today, and this show's a little bit different today because we're going to talk about something pretty specific, and that is music licensing. Because, I've been on both sides of it in the sense of I've licensed music for films, and I've also had my music licensed for films and commercials or skateboarding videos or whatever. But I still don't understand how it works, and it seems like a lot of people that play music don't understand how it works, and what you're told is the music industry's dead. The only way you're going to make money these days is licensing. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It seems easier than I think it actually is. So, yeah.
Oh, so this is going to be biz talk.
Biz talk. Well, no, not really. I mean, first I just wanted to say Lacey and I, we've known each other for a really long time. We used to work at Sub Pop together, and I was just trying to think today when did we first meet, you and I?
Probably at the Sit and Spin somewhere, at a show when I was working.
Right. Which was a laundromat rock club.
Oh, I miss Sit and Spin.
Yeah.
In Seattle.
It was really nice.
Yeah, and you and your boyfriend at the time, Ruben, he worked there too, no? Or
just on Sundays. We did shows on Sundays, but he didn't work there. I worked there. I folded towels and wiped up pubes and told people to stop smoking crack in the bathroom.
Right.
Daily.
And you guys had moved from Austin, though.
Yes, that was my first job, and I worked there until it closed down, and then I got a job at Sub Pop.
I remember now. I was working in the record store, and you came in with Ruben, and you guys said, "Hey, we just moved here from Austin. Nice to meet you."
What record store?
At the Sub Pop record store, the Mega Mart that used to be in
the. You were working there?
Yeah, in the Pike Place Market, and you guys came in and introduced yourselves to me.
Oh, and you're probably a dick.
I'm sure I was a dick, but I also thought it was so weird because it was just these people are so not from the Northwest.
Yeah.
Because they're just coming in.
Hey, y'all.
We just got here from Texas.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Boy, our arms tired.
Yeah. And I remember, it's funny too, because my introduction to Tiffany is also through Sub Pop in the sense that I used to work in the warehouse, and I remember going through the warehouse and seeing a Tiffany Anders CD.
There's probably lots of them
there.
I was like, ooh, where's this going to go?
There were quite a few of them. There were quite a few of the CDs. It was on Up Records.
Yes.
Which we distributed at the time.
Yes.
And I also remember specifically just my 19-year-old boy self, which you could imagine at the time of just seeing going Tiffany Anders, what's this? What's Tiffany Anders? I'm not gonna listen. There's a Dwarves CD on the shelf. I'm Blood, Guts, and Pussy. I'm not gonna listen to this Tiffany Anders record or whatever.
I don't blame you at all.
I technically now license Tiffany Anders for.
That's true. I've never been licensed.
Synchronization.
I've never been licensed, but I've never thought about that. You would be the person.
I would be the person.
Yeah.
Which we didn't plan on that at all.
I know.
And now we're just here.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. So Tiffany, you're a music supervisor.
Yes.
And so what does that entail?
So I mostly work on films and TV shows, as you know.
Right.
Because your band was on one of the TV shows that I worked on.
Which one?
You're the Worst.
Okay.
Last season.
We were on You're the Worst playing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We got murdered.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was really fun.
on
They were on the show.
camera.
On camera.
Wow.
We got shot to death by a PTSD vet.
Oh shit.
And you know, it's sad because that part got cut out.
It was too
'cause they
violent.
thought it was too violent.
Wait, the whole thing?
No, just them getting killed.
Oh, okay.
Shot.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go
No. Go ahead. So basically, your job on the show then is that was a specific thing where you actually wanted to have a band on the show, but mostly it's you're working on the music that gets played during the show.
Yes. Yeah. So I go to people like Lacey and beg them. Beg a lot.
Beg.
I have a pretty good beg game, don't I?
Oh, I mean it's direct. It's a yeah.
So I go to people like Lacey and I say, hey, you know, I need some cool music, some cool tracks, or I'll have something in mind. For the TV show, actually, we have such crazy budget restraints that I often have to ask before I go and license something or get any big ideas, whether it's affordable for me or not.
Right. And just to be clear, Lacey's job as the licensee. Licensor. Yeah, you're the licensee. Tiffany's you're sort of the gatekeeper of all this music.
Right.
A library of sorts or
Yeah.
whatever, that somebody comes to you and what do you say to her, like when you need a song for a show?
Well, generally, because I know how it works and that there are restrictive budgets a lot of times, you know, the first question will kind of be like, how much money do you have to spend and what are you looking for? And so we will pull together, especially with a catalog as big as Sub Pop's and the other labels we represent. There's just a lot of stuff, you know, and you know who will want to do stuff for certain amounts of money and who you don't even bother asking because...
There's certain artists that are like, I'm not going to
Yeah.
license my song to commercials.
Oh, yeah, but even, like, for a low-money TV use, you know, you're not going to have the biggest bands on the label do a thing for not very much money because then the thought is it devalues our intellectual property. So
Right.
It's a
can't do all
real
these.
pain in the butt for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's this precedence that gets set for certain artists or just in general. You know, certain labels are like, no, we will not go below this. Even if a band has broken up, even if a band put out one record, I mean, you really have to get in there and try and, like, you know, plead your cause to get them to go lower than their precedence.
Is there ever the case of like, what would you do, for instance, could you send the band or the label like a clip from the show and be like, this is actually like a really cool thing, as
Yeah.
opposed to like, this is not a Tide commercial or something?
No, totally. People do that all the time. But there's also, and it's not like there is a set, I mean, there are at some places for sure, like people will ask for our rate cards, and we don't have rate cards, you know, everything is considered on a case-by-case basis. There's no like, all these bands for 30 seconds is this much, you know, and so let's figure out your rate. You work with what the people have that you're working with. But there are just some bands that you're like, oh, I know their management is going to scoff and be like, and then I'm going to have to read a dumb email about fucking copyrights and value and whatnot. And I'm like, cool, man, I'm just the messenger.
Right.
You can just say yes or no. That's it. You don't have to tell me your philosophy.
Although I have to say, Lacey is kind of the exception because I find, you know, especially if you're going to major labels and major publishers, it's them who are saying, oh, no, this band is worth this amount. We're not going lower than that. And they don't even take it to the artist or
Right.
the manager. They just flat out will not do it. So
I had that exact same thing happen when I was trying to help our friend Calvin make a movie, and he wanted only one song, and the entire budget of the movie was for this one song. And I went to the publisher or whatever, and a lot of times these people they're like just office workers. They don't even know the song that you're talking about, and they don't really care, and they just look at the $sign, and then they go to the person who owns the song. It might not even be the artist that owns the song at this point, and they go, this is how much they're willing to spend, and the guy goes, no.
Yeah.
And the reason why it actually went through on this instance was I found a guy who was actually friends with the musician and said, hey, this is a really cool project. Would you be able to do it? And then once that happened, it worked out. But a lot of times you're just talking to someone that might as well be like a secretary.
They have no idea what their catalog is. They're not familiar with it. And so that gets disheartening. And, I had an instance recently, very, very, very big artist, huge artist, and I was just waiting on an answer for like months from a big major label. And I found the artist, and typically they don't like it when you reach out to the artist directly. In this case, I reached out to the artist, he wrote me back, then he wrote to the label, and the label actually called me. I was expecting them to, bitch me out over the phone for like contacting the artist, and they said, usually we'd be very upset about this, but in this case, we couldn't find him. And I just thought, wow, this is a huge artist, and they needed his approval on this one song. And I just thought, you can't even find your moneymaker? Like, you don't know where your moneymaker is. You've let some opportunity, like, just slip through the cracks. I mean, stuff like that is kind of maddening, where you're just like, there's such little care, and it's so not personal.
Sure.
That it gets a little...
And I would assume that it goes both ways in the sense of sometimes you're emailing like a manager or a lawyer or somebody, and they don't relay that information to the band. I've heard of that happening too. And then the band's like, what the fuck, dude? Like, it cost me like $50,000 because I never even knew about this thing, And like years later, like maybe Tiffany runs into said band at a show and was like, oh man, I really wanted to get you on this thing and blah, blah, blah.
That has happened many times.
And they're like, I didn't even know. Like, I've heard of that happening.
That happens a lot. That happens a lot.
Well, that's crazy. I wanted that brings me to another question I had, is sort of a more specific one, but can you explain like the difference between like a master and like publishing, or like sides on a licensing deal, and how that works?
Do you want to do that, Lacey, or shall I?
Ooh. Yeah, sure. Or I can. How about I'll just talk about the master, and then you can talk about the sync side. Okay. So, what I do is represent the master recording for all of Sub Pop and sub labels and a handful of third-party labels, and that is, we actually control the rights for the recording, for the physical recording of it. So when people come to us, actually, most people when they come to us don't know what they're doing, and then you have to explain the whole thing. But for like a big thing, they would know what they were doing, and they would come and they were like, quote on the recording side, which is what we have. And holy shit, dude, that weed crack.
Wait, why are you having such a hard time
explaining? Where am I?
Why? How come? Why are you having such a hard time explaining it?
Because of the weed coffin or whatever.
Because the built-in vaporizer into the desk that we're recording in?
Yeah, I really don't know where that cable goes.
I don't know either. I think it just goes to some like weird goblin that's actually like lighting the pipe for you before you hit it. I mean, weed's just gotten crazy these days.
I mean, I feel like it's always on though. Like that goes to a battery or something. Like you could just do that at any second.
I think you can. I don't know how it works either, but so
yes.
You're just really stoned is what you're saying.
Yeah, man. Sorry. Sorry.
So you own the master, which is the physical recording.
The recording, the thing you buy.
Right.
The thing you buy. Yes, we own the recording, and it's the master tape, basically, is what it refers to. So that's our piece of the two-piece puzzle. and Tiffany is going to tell you about
Yeah,
the
so
second
I'll
piece.
Let me
go-
ask you a
Wait.
question real quick, though.
All right.
How often are you pitching songs to people versus people coming to you looking for songs? Or is it both the same?
It's both. Like both all day, every day.
Right.
That's what my job
Right.
is answering emails about that.
Right.
Can I do this?
Right.
And then asking.
Right.
I email. It's a really glamorous job. It's a lot of emailing.
Yeah. Exactly.
But you pull together music for me, and
No, yeah,
I'll
yeah.
say,
well,
you know,
that's-
I'm looking for something like this, and then you'll give me a whole, link to music that you've
Right.
found that you think
Yeah.
would be suitable.
Yeah, we do searches. So
Mhm.
it's either it's like shots in the dark or like negotiating prices basically and getting approval. So it's both, It's like that's all I do.
Right. And then, so you're looking for the publishing part of it, no?
So no, I go to Lacey for a master, and then she'll say, yeah, this artist, we can approve it for this amount, and then I have to go to maybe a like BMG or there's lots of publishers out there now. Domino has a publishing side, and the publisher is for the actual written song. So, that's the composition, whoever wrote it. So say, Sub Pop has a cover of like The Wanderer or, some,
Nice one. I like that. The Wanderer.
Yeah, The Wanderer.
Keep going.
So then I'd have to go to, I don't know, probably like Sony ATV or Universal. And, here's the interest. Should I go into MFN?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so
It's important.
This is a very
Very,
informative show that
very-
we're doing here, so that's the
very,
point of
very
this.
important. So yeah, okay, let's say, she's got a band, maybe a baby band, a little band that, did a cover of The Wanderer, and she's like, I can give it to you for this amount of money. And then I go to the publisher, and they're like, well, we can't do it for less than X amount of dollars because it was a hit. And this writer needs to be paid accordingly for their song. So I can come back to her, and either she will say it's got to be MFM with the publisher, which means each side gets the same.
Right.
Or, I can say, hey, it's a huge song. Can we not do MFM with this because it's a little band covering a huge song?
Sure.
And actually, on a movie I just worked on, we had two big songs, one by Wang Chung and one by New Shoes. And in that case, those artists knew that their songs were hits, and they re-recorded their versions to be able to license it to me cheaply.
Right.
So sometimes that happens too.
Right.
There's little loopholes in there.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. So do you ever deal with people where you'll have like a band basically write a song that sounds like a famous song so that you can then license it for cheap?
I've
or do
never
a
gone
cover?
into that, but covers, yes. I have explored covers quite a few times.
Right.
To
But what
be able
But
to,
people do that. What
Yeah,
you
they'll-
were saying.
write
Yeah.
fake songs that
Yeah,
sound like say
sound
that,
alikes.
they'll sound like a Blondie song, but it's just some guys in a studio.
yes.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that you had these artists actually covering themselves, basically.
Yes. Yes.
So that's the new master? Is that what that's considered? But the
Yes.
publishing stays the same because the same person wrote the song.
Yes.
Right.
So they're basically re-recording themselves because,
so that
who
they
knows?
can get all the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
All the money.
Because
All the money goes to them because they probably signed some record deal, and they probably took some big advance and they don't see that money, or who knows. But
And
they do re-record versions that sound exactly the same and offer that up first so that they can keep the money, as Lacey said.
because when they got that advance the first time around, they basically were selling some of the rights to the masters to the label, so that the label would get, say, 50% of the master, and they would get 50% of the master,
Yeah.
and then maybe they would retain 100% of the publishing.
Yeah, although
Yeah.
usually, I mean, in this case, they have a publisher, although it was kind of an independent publisher. There's also this whole thing of administration.
It's a motherfuck.
It's quite.
Well, that's
quite
what I'm saying
complicated.
is like what we're saying is, and that's kind of why I wanted to do this show with you guys, especially besides the fact that we're friends and I'm interested in it, but it's so confusing to bands out there, and they keep getting told this thing of like, oh, you got to license your music. Hey, don't sell your publishing, and it's just like, what the fuck does that mean?
Don't sell your publishing, and you should probably license your music.
I agree. I agree with Lacey on that.
Don't. But at what point do you sell your publishing?
You don't ever.
Don't ever do it.
For no amount of money.
Don't ever do it.
No, never sell your publishing. You can always have somebody administer your publishing, but they don't own any rights to your publishing. So that's what we do also. Because
Right.
Sub Pop does have a publishing division as well.
So
But
they're the administrators of the publishing for those bands.
yeah,
Songwriters.
we collect all of their publishing money, which is, I mean, in a lot of bands, you say, oh, do you have a publishing deal? And they're like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. My name's like Pirate Face Songs on ASCAP. And I was like, okay, that's not a publishing deal.
Yeah, I had this recently.
Yeah.
Can you
and-
explain that? What happened?
Well, so, I mean, that is, ASCAP and BMI are performing rights societies, which is one income stream to your publishing, performing rights money.
Right.
But you've not signed a deal. And it's just like to administer this like statutory rate that,
Rate?
no, rape. Yeah, I said rape. So they're collecting pennies,
Sure.
and, from all kinds of places. But that's not a publishing deal. If you have signed a deal with a publisher, you should know it, I would hope, and you should have received cash money to do so,
Right.
or not.
And like what?
Especially for an admin deal, like if it's just like, you're not buying anything, you're kind of hiring somebody
Sure.
to do this for
Yeah.
you, is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And
Somebody who knows what they're doing.
and what
can
can
get
like
you
a
your
band
pennies.
expect like money wise when they do license a song?
Well, it totally depends. Things are way, way all over the place, like even just like, so like from TV shows to films to ads, but even like the different levels within each of those,
Yeah.
There are network shows pay more money and then the shows that everybody wants to be on have really tiny budgets, but people want to do it,
Right.
because
Like a
it's a
Breaking
cool
Bad or
show.
something like that.
Smaller even.
Oh, okay.
Like a lot of like the cool Netflix shows and the HBO shows, and I guess I don't know if I did
Breaking Bad was really, I actually worked on your side for a little while, and I worked at a place called Natural Energy Lab, and I got a song on Breaking Bad, their first season, like the second episode, and they had no money.
no money for that.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it got better,
Yeah.
but
Well, they used like Badfinger towards the end and stuff in America, and I'm sure they got more
Yeah.
money as the show went on.
So I had an experience where it was like Marlboro had come to us and wanted to like make a video. Like we were one
Oh,
of like
yeah.
many bands that were being pitched to like Marlboro to be in like a Marlboro sponsored.
you say that so funny.
What?
I don't know. Say it again.
Marlboro? Is that what I'm saying funny?
Marlboro.
Marlboro. So
Marlboro.
Marlboro.
That's so hard to say. Sorry.
The built-in pipe to the table. Marlboro. How fast are we going? And then we're like going like 10 miles per hour, and we think we're speeding. But like what I'm saying though is like for me, it was like okay, I smoke cigarettes or whatever. I have no problem smoking cigarettes or whatever. But to do a thing with your band that you put in this sort of energy and you feel like you have some sort of artistic vision or whatever, then to do like an ad for like a product that's probably a horrible.
How much money were they going to pay you?
That's the thing. It's like at one point it got so far to the level where basically after months they came back and said, oh, you know what? Like, you guys are called Zigzags, and that's actually a competitor of ours. So, like, we don't know if we want to use you. Which, to me, it's like, how was that not the first thing that was
Right.
said in the meeting?
Yeah.
But, like, months later, after, like, 1,000,000 people have discussed it, it goes like, oh, you know
Yeah.
what? Actually, did you know that those guys are called Zigzags? Like, maybe that we shouldn't use them or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they were like, well, would you guys be down to change your name for this Marlboro thing? And I'm like,
Hell yeah.
actually, that would be better
Yeah.
if we were
Yes,
just like a
please.
fake person in the
Fuck
ad.
yeah.
So at that point, it's like, how much money is it worth it to the band or to your conscience to do something?
Well, so what happened? Don't leave me hanging.
I don't think they even ever end. They probably just like got rid of the whole program in general. I don't think anything ever happened with. It's like one of those things where someone was like, "That's a bad idea. Let's just not do it."
Right.
Well, Lacey, I mean, this is more a question for you because I don't work in ads. I mean, I've done like creative consulting for ads where I just literally send them ideas. But I've never had to license any music for an ad. And I don't know. I mean, I think if you get used too many times, right? Like, isn't there something where, like, if you've been used in an ad, like, too many times, they don't want to use you again,
I mean,
right?
they always say that, but how many fucking ads have that fucking,
Black Keys.
not that, the other one. How You Like Me Now. That song. Like.
I don't know what that song is.
Yes,
How You Like Me Now?
I know.
You know, yes, you do.
I've heard it. I don't. Who does it?
Oh, I actually know this.
Who is it?
It's a band called The Heavy.
Oh, okay. I never heard of them.
Me neither.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you've heard that song almost every day of your life.
Sure.
And that's crazy. But also, it sounds like what you're talking about is a little bit of a different thing. Like, that seems like more of a video content thing, branded.
Yeah, it's more of like an
video.
online video branded content. I mean, you can't advertise fucking cigarettes on TV anyways, so it's not like
Right.
a commercial. It's like Marlboro sponsors these bands, and these are Marlboro bands. And
Yeah,
you know
it's
what I
gonna
mean?
be like
It's
you
not like
playing live or
yeah, it's like a Marlboro session featuring
Right.
so and so.
So how much money did they weigh?
Oh, it was not that much. It was like $5,000 or something. I don't even remember,
Okay.
but it wasn't enough that it like felt good.
Yeah, that doesn't seem worth it to me.
Right?
No.
I mean, it all depends on who you are and what you're.
See, I'm really
See, but your job is to
open-minded.
get that money, though.
My job is to get that money.
Right.
Somebody is going to get that money. Why shouldn't it be somebody I know?
Well,
You know what I mean? Who needs the fucking money?
Again, Lacey is the rare exception because that's the way music supervisors feel. I feel like on my end of things, I'm like, what's it to you? It's, whether it's $1,000 or,
And I think
10,000, I'm like, it's still that money, like.
Somebody is going to get
Yeah.
it. Because you know what? Oh, here I go. Okay. The internet ruined everything. And, fucking Bandcamp, which, by the way, is so bizarre.
we're on Bandcamp right now.
I know that. I can't follow this podcast on Bandcamp unless I go buy some music from someone.
Right.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. We're figuring that whole thing out right now.
But I don't think it's just you.
No, it's not just me. I'm just saying. I mean,
No.
I'm really bad at the internet, but it's not just me. Like
Right.
everyone,
And me too.
everyone's bad at the internet.
Yeah, I'm terrible. I mean, some people are not. Oh, but so now it became a thing where I think supervisors, well, it's like the economy got bad and everybody's budgets went away. And so then things that, like when I first started doing this, for sure, if you got a song on a network show, it was going to be like at least $15,000
Sure.
aside.
So $30,000 total.
$30,000 total. But it was going to be like at least $15,000. And then now you'll do, like, you get requests for like the same exact rights that were $15,000 for another show. They'll be like, we've got $1,000 aside. You
Well,
know?
the
So it's
rules
like,
of cable and the internet have changed, and this is the same thing for actors too. Because in the '80s, if you booked a commercial and there was only like 4 channels, it was considered a national commercial, and it was a union job, and you were guaranteed like $50,000 if you were in like a Clorox commercial in the '80s or whatever.
right.
Now you could be in a Clorox commercial that's played before a YouTube video that gets skipped, and you'll get paid like $1,000, even though it went from like a bunch of people with like basic TVs watching you to the entire world now sees you, but now you get like 1/10 of the money,
Right.
if that.
Right. And for a long time, that was also when people would come asking for a song and be like, we want this song, we have only this much money, but it's just the internet. And
Right.
for a while, that was like a viable argument.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know?
And now it's just like, it's just everything.
And everyone's like, yeah, it's just,
Internet
it's
clearance is
just,
hard.
yeah, it's just an internet. It's just the internet. So no one will see it. And I was like, oh, you mean the internet where everyone is?
Right.
Because nobody's watching TV anymore. Just the internet?
Where it's not even...
Oh, cool.
It's not even you watching
Yeah.
TV or the internet. It's the internet is watching you.
Yeah.
And
Oh, you mean the thing where it will follow you around for the rest of your day also, and you can never
you can
shake
never
it?
get rid of it?
Yeah, that.
It's like a bad photo of you drunk at a party that's now out there forever.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, $50 will work for that. Why not?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. No, we need a lot more for it to be played during daytime television on ABC or whatever. You know?
Yeah,
like,
that's interesting.
That brings me to another question I had is like, so basically the thing about the internet is like, they're like, oh, it's just the internet, but the fact that it is the internet makes it last forever.
mm-hmm.
So you license a song to like a TV show. What are the rights as far as ownership of that show then, as far as what they can do with that song, generally?
Well, iClear, here's some other terms
Let's
I'm
hear.
going to throw out there.
Glossary.
iClear for all media, meaning internet, you know, all forms of media.
now known
Worldwide,
or hereafter devised.
now known or hereafter devised. Worldwide, and I do it for in perpetuity. So that means your song is tied to this program for, eternity, basically. Like
In whatever form.
in whatever form. Some people put in, not worldwide, but in the universe,
Yeah.
just in case
Some people will cross
you're
out.
watching it on the moon.
Yeah.
It sounds like Scientology.
Well, funny enough.
Clearing. Universe. What?
Tiffany and I wanted to talk to you today.
You two sitting here reminds me of that NPR sketch.
That's what I feel like, and I keep doing it.
Yeah, you guys remind me of that.
Chocolate salty balls, or
Oh, that
no,
one.
what is it?
Sweaty
that the
balls.
Sweaty
SNL?
balls.
Yeah, exactly. So you're licensing the song basically for use for however they see fit for the be-all, end-all of time.
Yes.
If you license for a commercial, though, it should not be that.
It
Don't
should
do
be
that.
a certain amount of times that they air it, and that's the agreement, right?
Well, it's normally like it's a much shorter term. It shouldn't be more than a year,
Right.
and it should mostly be 6 months or less.
And if the commercial decides to go longer, they have to come back to you
Yeah.
and renegotiate that fee.
Yes.
And usually, if they want to use it again, it would be more, right, than
Yeah.
it was the first time.
We normally do a 15% increase.
Just because they're
Per
like,
renewal.
this song is now tied to our product, and we can't do this commercial without this. Like, How You Like Me Now, they can't change it to like,
Right.
Right. Slayer or something. But
No, that would be a weird move for Mazda.
yeah, they're doing like necrophobic or something.
Yeah.
So, for instance, so, like you're a band and you want to like submit your songs to like, how do you get that stuff out there? Is it just based on like everything else, where it's just like you just fucking write good songs and you be a good band and you become a popular band and that stuff's gonna find you? Or are there ways that like independent bands can like try to like license their songs?
Well, I get sent a lot of stuff, and I have to say, you never know what you're going to need, in terms of what you're working on. I mean, there could be something that you personally would never listen to in a million years, but it just so happens that it fits a certain scene, or, this character likes this certain kind of thing. So I always encourage bands to send me stuff. because I'll listen to anything. And I kind of keep things in folders, and I'll go like, oh, this would be good for this. And I mean, on the TV show I'm working on right now, we have many different locations, and some are in a mall, and some are, so I have to make folders of like what I think would be playing there, preemptively to try and, sort things out. But it's always good for me to hear new stuff directly, and I do listen to everything. So I think the more that they can get it into music supervisors' hands, the better. I mean,
But, okay.
I might be the exception.
What is the percentage of shit someone sent you versus, I don't know, I guess stuff that
That you would send me?
yeah, I guess, or people who do what I do and all that. Like, how often do you like, oh, where's that Bandcamp link to jedbangersball.com?
Well, I will say I will go to you guys first.
That's what I
But
thought. I'm just
that
saying,
being said,
Make that
I
clear.
run out of options. I run out of options, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I need, I sent like over 200 songs for a few episodes so far, but like out of that, maybe it's like 50 that the creator chose, and then that gets dwindled down, and then I've got to find more. So I run out of options.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I definitely like.
yeah, but this is more of what I like to call somebody's got to make the sandwiches philosophy, in that like I just feel it's about, and also about like, and the kind of kids where, oh, your parents told you you were special, obviously, like you're go do it or whatever. Sure, if you make great music, somebody will find it somehow, maybe, but realistically, that's like a needle in a haystack.
Right.
So it helps because of like the whole argument too of like, why labels? That whole thing that seemed like all the media was pushing bands to not have a label.
Sure.
A few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm still so high. The same thing's like, what do you need a label for? You don't need a label. And it's like, yeah. That's you're right. In this day and age, you can do a lot of things without a label.
Well, I think about it in the sense of like sometimes when I go to band practice and I think like, oh, why do you need a label, or why do you need a manager, or why do you need a booking agent? And then you think like, because I don't want to fucking deal with all that stuff after like I'm like just stressed myself out trying to write a song to be like, go like try to book a show, or
Right.
go like try to worry about the fucking. You're not going to get your record pressed anyways without the label. You're going to be pushed all the way in the back of the line.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and it's just like why would you have anything? Why would you have a lawyer?
Right.
Oh, because that guy knows the law. Okay, Johnny Basement Band, go. Yeah, become a fucking superstar. Do it. I am all for you. Like, I'm for you.
Right. And Johnny Basement Band is just like 24/7, just like dealing with shit all the time.
Right.
Like, just freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering too, like as far as music supervisors go, like you talk about like, having all these batches of songs and stuff. It's like how much like artistic control do you have over like a film and like the vibe of the music? Say it's a period piece and it's like a 60s set in 1968 and you want to like kill it with like fucking All Along the Watchtower at one point, which is like, it seems they use the same fucking shit all the time.
Yeah.
What's the Jefferson Airplane one?
White Rabbit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
God.
That's
I'm like,
nothing
somebody's
says the
doing
60s.
drugs.
Yeah.
I know it.
Exactly. And it's like what you said about the commercial shit. It's like these directors, like, some of them are awesome or whatever, and we have friends that are really creative, interesting people, but like some of these guys are like, they know film, but they know nothing about music, and like their musical tastes are like the worst fucking music tastes.
Yeah.
Well,
and they just want to use the same shit that everybody else used.
But
like,
I'll say this. When it comes to music, everybody, thinks that their taste is great.
right.
And
And they're totally wrong.
and everybody, everybody's entitled to that.
I don't
But
believe
the
that.
crazy thing that happens.
Really?
No, because you and I and us, we've spent our whole fucking lives doing music.
No,
and
I
what-
understand.
And
I
when
agree
someone
with
says,
you.
I say like, what kind of music do they? Oh, I like everything. It's just like, no, you fucking don't like
Yeah.
music because you don't know what the fuck you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
That's just my personal opinion on it. But
And directors
Whoa.
tend most of the directors I've worked with tend to have an idea of what they want musically. The thing about it is the movies I've worked on, they can't afford
Right.
what they like. So that's where my music knowledge and me being such a big fan and collector comes in very handy, because I can go, oh, well, have you heard this? Because this we can get. And in certain cases, and I will say probably in most cases, when we have to replace something, I had to replace a Sub Pop band. Actually, I'm not going to name who, but when we had to when I had to replace that, I have to say it was like I knew it worked better, and I was just like, here, let me link this up for you. I threw it on the cut, and it worked better, and he was fine. I mean, and every director has a tantrum about it. They all flip out when they can't get what they want, and then you have to kind of, guide them gently through this transition of like, here's a million different options that are probably going to work better anyways. So,
right.
and it's different from each director. I mean, some directors I get to work with the composer a lot, which I always really, really enjoy playing music myself. I really like working with the composers. And yeah, I mean, it's different from director to director, but I feel like on most of my movies, there is a lot of me in there, which, is definitely makes me proud and happy,
Right. And I think, I mean, as much as people want to know about how this stuff works, also I think there's a lot of people out there, and they're totally wrong when they think this, but they want to get into these jobs or like work at a record label. When people tell me they want to work at a record label or whatever. And I remember working at Sub Pop, like when I started working there in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was basically the place that you worked because you couldn't get a job anywhere else. Now you have people that go to school for this kind of stuff. But your mom, Tiffany, your mom's a director.
Mm-hmm.
And is that how you kind of got into being a music supervisor?
It is totally how I got into it, because she was in these predicaments over and over and over again where she uses music a lot. Like,
Well, she uses musicians a lot in the films, too.
yeah, so she would cram a movie with like 20 songs, which is a lot for a film. And constantly had her heart broken when she couldn't get certain songs. And so I kept seeing this happening. And then she'd be calling me saying, hey, do you know any bands that this might, I couldn't get this. Do you know a band that might suit this and this and this and that? And we used a lot of Sub Pop stuff then too. But, I was like working as a waitress, and I was like, well, somebody has a job where they're getting paid to do this. And I kind of found it fascinating that there were certain things that she couldn't get. I didn't understand that. And I wanted to understand it more. And she kind of filled me in a little bit. She didn't actually know too much about the licensing thing, but she did tell me a little bit. When my record came out, she said, do not sell your publishing. That I had people...
If there's anything we've learned today.
I had people offering me publishing deals when my record came out, and that was one thing that she was like, do not do that, because then your stuff will never be in any movies. I mean, it's a complicated thing.
The big publishers are having, I think, a hard time coming around to what people have to spend. But at the same time, they are, I can't say that I mind it, because they're kind of the only advocate for keeping
the rates
keeping the rates
keeping
the rate realistic,
because it is really hard to come back from paying, what did I say, a 15th?
Right.
Now we pay a 15th. There's never going to be a time where they're going to be like, we're going to go back to paying you 15 times more.
Right.
Like, you have to try and stay up.
Sure.
you know?
Well, because it's like something like Spotify or something where they just go like, we're going to play your music all the time whenever we want, and this is the rate we're going to pay you, which is like 0.001 or whatever, you know. It's kind of the same thing. Once they devalue it so much, they're never going to like revalue it.
No, yeah, exactly.
So at some point you got to like say, no, we're not going to.
We're not doing,
sell
I
it.
mean, and there is a point too. Like I do get requests for searches for, you know, it's like a brand video and we want it for perpetuity on the internet and it's $500, you know, but it's like, okay, I know that I do work with bands who would want that $500, but at a certain point in time, you have to be like, no, I'm not doing it, you know?
Right.
I know that somebody will do it. For sure, somebody on Bandcamp, if somebody just emailed you and was like, hey, can we use this?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you can, and you can make money doing that. Like, you know, doing those kind of deals on your own if you're a band.
Sure.
But you're devaluing the whole thing for everybody.
We do them all the time. I mean, for me, I guess like the line is like, if it's something like, for instance, it's like Vans or Converse or something. It's something that I like, something that I wear, or it's a skateboarding video, and I think like a bunch of kids are gonna see this, you know, and like it's gonna be cool. Or we did a thing that was like a PBS documentary where they were doing a thing about reclaiming warehouses for art spaces. You know, it's like that's not hurting anyone.
No.
And
That's what I'm saying though. If it's something that you believe in, if it's like Vans or Converse or skateboarding or whatever or art spaces, yeah. But if it's somebody comes to you, I don't know. I've seen things that they send to bands,
right,
and have like looked at contracts that people have signed, and I'm like, did you even look at this at all? Or you were just like $500, I'll sign anything, you know? And it's like, oh, these people can actually use your song wherever for anything, you know?
Well, and I know how you got into it, Lacey, because I worked at Sub Pop as well, and you started out like just working in the record store. What were you doing?
No, I was a temporary receptionist.
You were a temporary receptionist, and then you just worked your way up
to being the director of fucking licensing.
Exactly.
Way to go.
Way to go. I have moved up the corporate ladder at Sub Pop Records.
And you find yourself down here in LA now too. Like they let you move down here.
They let me move. They let me try and give it a shot here in the city where it all happens.
Because you were coming down here for meetings all the time to meet with music supervisors.
Yeah. And
exactly.
And so that's the thing. And that is what a label and a publisher, I mean, that's why I'm saying, I think people think a lot today, oh, I don't need to work with any of these people anymore. And it's like, well, you don't. But when you are working with a label or a publisher, you do have people working on your behalf, you know? Otherwise you're existing. It's this, I mean, we're selling things.
Right. And I just wanted to point that out just for people that wonder, like, oh, how do you get into these jobs or whatever? It's the same as any other job. If you want to be a chef, you start out as a fucking dishwasher or whatever, and you just work your way up. You pay attention to what's going on, and then you get moved along if you show interest in it and you're there at the right place and you fucking bust your ass. It's like any other gig.
Totally.
And so just wrapping it up then, I wanted to just think and ask you guys, like, where do you think like all this stuff is headed, and where is like the challenges for you guys moving forwards, and what do you want to like accomplish with these jobs, you know? I don't know about you, Lacey, but
did you see that face? I was like, oh my God. That is actually an interesting question, because part of my moving down here was like, I'm going to just become extra awesome at my job.
right.
Like, I'm going to go spend at least a year working on my, I guess is what is my career, you know? I've been there for 12 years, and so this is what I do. And I think, like, realizing that was kind of a mind fuck, and then I was like, well, I'm going to be really good at it. I'm going to go down there, and I'm going to, like, double gun, finger guns, do the thing, and chat people up. And then I was like, oh, yeah, no, that sucks. You know?
Because you think about these jobs, but then, you know, it's like what we said earlier. It's like there's so much just like emailing involved.
There's so much emailing. I can't meet anybody. I'm too busy emailing. I can't have lunch with you.
Right.
I'm harassing you for
No.
music.
Are you right now? Oh, no.
Yeah, I am.
Let me check my BlackBerry. I don't really have a BlackBerry.
I don't know. They
Come
still
on.
make Blackberries?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Cool. Lacey has a flip phone that she
Yeah.
handles all the
Hold
music
on.
licensing for. If you're a band out there wondering.
Yeah. It's a razor.
Yeah. If you're wondering why your license contract is just a photo of a cat hanging on a branch,
Yeah.
then. So Jess, our producer here, is giving me the green light here, or the red light here. And Tiffany has to go watch Mad Men with her mom,
I
so we have
really
to
do.
wrap it
I
up
really
here.
do.
So if
I
anyone.
need to know what the closing song is going to be, too.
Oh.
What? Oh, the closing song. Yeah,
for
exactly.
Mad
Like,
Men.
what's the
I
closing
mean,
song?
come on.
Well, I just want to ask you guys just real quick, how do people get information on these businesses if they want to get involved with it, or kids or college kids, or if this is what they want to do, what's the option? Like, what's the route?
You know, I am, as Lacey worked her way up, I interned for a music supervisor, Karen Rackman, for a while, and Howard Parr, who actually helped me a lot too. But I also, I would say if there's licensing companies out there or music supervisors that need interns, anything like that, I'd just dig around and start investigating if there's any place that you can intern. I did it, for quite a while, a couple years, and then I worked on a super low budget movie for Drake Doremus, and now he's making like a giant sci-fi movie with Kristen Stewart and Nicholas Hoult, and I'm his music supervisor.
Damn, girl.
He went from like $30,000, $250,000 to like huge giant, Ridley Scott produced film. So I say, if you really want
stick around.
it,
You got to stick around.
You got to like get in there and start doing it and interning and doing shit for free.
I mean, that's how I know you guys. I stuck around, and like you guys have always been like
That's
super
true.
sweet to me, and we've always been friends, and we've always like Tiffany's gotten stuff for my music when she could, and and Lacey let me sleep on her couch for years there for a while, and
Years?
well, not years. I don't know. It was a while. It felt like years.
Jeez. Sorry. You know what sucks is that right now I'm like, now I really want to talk about like philosophical implications of all of this, and like deep secrets.
Well, we
What
could do a
are
part
the deep
2.
secrets?
The deep secrets that they don't tell you about
Oh,
licensing
really?
your music.
Should we do a part 2 of that? Because Tiffany has to go see Mad Men with
Mad
her
Men.
mom.
I know. Mad Men. It's the season finale. It's the end. It's the end of all Mad Men for all eternity.
Okay.
Tonight.
I bet that the last song, it's got to be some sort of like 77 punker song.
What year are we
No,
set in
no,
right
no.
now?
I
Okay,
think-
let's do
wait,
this.
well,
Let's
that's-
just all
how
go around and
long
say
does
what
it
the
go?
last song is going to be, and then we'll end it on that. What
Well,
year
wait.
is it? I've never seen the show, so what year is it?
I
think
don't
we're
know.
In 1970, right?
We're in 1970?
We might be. Yeah.
But it's the end of the series. It could feasibly jump.
They've already
for an
used the
ending.
Beatles, so
I
it's
know.
not going to be the Beatles.
All right, Lacey,
But
what's...
when do you think it's going to be? Do you think it's going to stay in 1970? I mean, I
think
need a
it's
year.
ending right there.
70?
Yeah.
Okay, so it ends in 1970. Lacey, what's the last song of Mad Men?
Ooh, give me a minute. It's got to be something about like political unrest. Okay, it's going to be a Clash song.
But
It
it's
is
1970.
So not going to be a Clash song.
I know, but I'm anticipating a flash forward, is what I'm saying.
It's going to be
Oh.
like.
I know
White
she said it's not going to happen.
Rabbit-y.
Oh no, they can't White Rabbit. It's
going to
be better. Than,
Pie or,
It's not Layla. It's not going to be Layla, Derek and the Dominoes.
no, that's not triumphant enough.
No?
No, you need something like.
What's that?
Yeah, that would
all the
All
leaves are brown.
because Don Draper moves to California.
Oh, right.
No.
Jess is chiming in with All the Leaves Are Brown.
I know. Well, no, I don't know anything.
What if it's Never Rains in Southern California?
Could be.
I have a feeling he doesn't make it to California.
Well, there you go.
So, what's the ultimate 70s death song? Fucking Don't Fear the Reaper.
Oh, that would be... I
It's too
would
late.
love it if
That's
it was...
too late.
But I would love it if it was Don't
That
Fear
is
the
my
Reaper.
prediction, is Don't Fear the Reaper.
That would be pretty epic, actually.
Can everybody pay me $50 if that happens? Just
We'll pay you 50...
Yes.
We're going
'cause
to
I know
end...
it's not going to happen, but
All right.
it would be
Thank you.
amazing. If
We're
it
going to end
happened.
on Don't Fear the Reaper. Tiffany, Lacey, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry.
All right, well, that was our music supervision episode. I hope you learned something from there. I want to thank Tiffany Anders for being on the show and Lacey Swain. Luckily, I know she got home safe. Sometimes we tape these things in advance. So she's in bed now watching Netflix, I'm sure. Game of Thrones or what have you. As always, Jedbanger's Ball is sponsored by This Is Not a Pipe. Recorded here in the Green Street Studios in beautiful Los Angeles, California. For all of you that were out at the Deserted at the Palms Festival this weekend, it was great to see all you. King Tough, Sunny in the Sunsets, No Age, lots of great local bands. We had a blast. Thanks for that guy that bought the t-shirt in the parking lot. Thanks for that guy that gave Dane the dune buggy ride. Can't believe we made it home. But there you have it. That's the show. Stay tuned. We'll see you next week.